Hi, everyone. I'm Sage Hill, and welcome to the Social Sage podcast. As always, I welcome you to leave me a comment below, just telling us what you thought of this particular episode. If you have any stories to share about experiences that you've had related to this topic, I invite you to do so below, and also to share any particular topic that you're interested in hearing us discuss here on the Social Sage. I want to say welcome again to the various listeners from the various streaming channels, be it YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. Well, here we are. It's time for yet another episode, and this has been an episode that I have been asked to talk about for a while now, and I had to just kind of get my mind right to even broach this subject, though it is one that needs to be discussed. And here at the Social Sage, we do not shy away from topics necessarily because they may be controversial, but yet we speak the truth. That's my motto. She speaks truth. And so today, that is exactly what we're going to do. And the topic is, don't let your pain get your ass whooped. What does that mean? There are a lot of people walking around here that are, as I call it, the walking wounded. Hey, we've all been through pain in our lives. We've all had experiences that we prefer not to relive. We don't even want to think about them. And some of us have allowed negative experiences, and I will go so far to say even trauma and various crises that have visited themselves upon us through no fault of your own, no fault of our own. We all go through crises in our lives at some point in time. Some crises, however, are crises that we visit upon ourselves because we allow ourselves to go down this path of just being consumed with the negative. We can become consumed with the fact that things aren't going the way that we expect them to. And we replay that over and over and over again in our heads when we're in a negative space. And it's unfortunate that sometimes people can get stuck in that place of negativity where they speak negative things to themselves because they have experienced less than desirable outcomes in their life or in their lives. Our lives are never going to be perfect every single day. Life has its share of ups and downs and tragic events that none of us want to experience, but all of us sadly do. It's a part of life. I know of no person who has always lived a perfect life. I've got a bonsai plant here, y'all, and I think my little bonsai is drawing a few gnats in here. So me and bonsai gonna have to have a conversation. But yeah, so life is not perfect. It was never designed to be perfect. It was designed to be lived and managed. And that's exactly what we have to do sometimes. We have to manage all of the different events that happen in our lives. And we have our good days, we have our bad days, but you know what? Every day is an opportunity to not only reshape our thinking, but to reshape our experiences. The experience itself may not have been one that we want it. But how can we take that experience and learn from it? How can we move past that experience and grow from it? Or how can we take what happened and help ourselves to rethink how the impact of that one incident has to affect us going forward? When events happen and we move beyond the event, we have to learn to move beyond the event, not just in the physical, but also, and most importantly, in our minds. Because sometimes we can become stuck in these patterns where we stay in this negative place. And therefore, when other things happen that don't go exactly as we expected or desired, we go back to those negative experiences and we start looking at life differently. We start seeing things through more of a negative lens. Our lenses become cloudy. And just like when you wear glasses, you have to have a special cleaning cloth and special cleansing wipes. And you have to wipe off the lenses so that you can see more clearly. We also have to do the same thing in life with how we perceive the things that happen and how we move on from them. And I know that this may sound easier said than done, but it is something that you can achieve and accomplish. Now, sometimes it requires a different perspective. Stop isolating yourself in these negative thoughts and allowing yourself to wallow in self-pity. You can't isolate yourself when you're experiencing those anxieties and those repetitive negative thought patterns. Sometimes you need someone that's going to help bring you out of that thinking. It could be a friend. It could be a family member. It could be a therapist sometimes. And sometimes they're the best people to help you get past that and to start thinking from a different perspective. There is a term called catastrophic thinking. And catastrophic thinking is just one's go-to whenever something negative happens. And what it causes is it causes us to repeat that negative thought over and over again. And then sometimes that negative thought leads to another, to another, to another. And before you know it, you are caught up in a web of negative thinking. It's like a hamster on a wheel. It just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And before you know it, you will be in this dark place. And sometimes when we don't know how to interrupt those patterns of thought, we need someone else to do it for us. But we have to be careful how that pain shows up in our lives. Because not everyone is empathetic. Not everyone is going to be so willing to overlook your pain. What do I mean by that? Have you ever met someone that whenever they come into a room, people kind of disperse? Or when people see them coming, they want to go the opposite way? Because that person's energy is negative. when they walk into the room, they bring with them this negative energy, and people don't want to be around that negative energy, so they just leave. And sometimes those people, when they catch someone that they can talk to, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is negative. It's a complaint. And people, no matter how patient they may be, can only take so much negative energy. People repel negative energy. And so we have to learn how to come out of that. Sometimes we can't do it ourselves, and sometimes it takes someone being honest with us to let us know that we are in this repetitive pattern of negative thoughts and thinking, and it's causing people to pull away. Sometimes it's just a matter of someone saying, look, this is not the end of the world. This is just one experience that you're having. It's just not a good day. This is not the outcome that you wanted, but it's not the end of the world. Life goes on. You will dust yourself off and you'll come back better. Perhaps they just have some advice that they need to share with you that if you listen to it will help you come out of that dark place. And as I stated, perhaps it's time to seek someone, a professional person that can give you some different perspectives. That is the best thing about counseling and therapy. It provides you with different ways of thinking about things. But sometimes people show up and their negativity is used almost as a weapon towards others. And that's where you have to be careful, because you don't want your pain to cause you to get your ass whooped. Sometimes people just start spouting off and saying what they think and how they feel, or they show up in your life in such a violent way that your only recourse is to fight fire with fire. Not that they come at you with a physical weapon, but their words are used in a way that it is not just negative, but it's hurtful. It's hurtful to you. And when these things happen over and over and over again, eventually they're going to run into the wrong person on the right day. That is why we have to control the pain that we have so that that pain does not show up on somebody else's doorstep, because they don't deserve that. They don't deserve that. So how do you control your pain? You first control it by acknowledging it. I suggest that everyone journal, because when you start writing things down and then you go back and you read what you've written, you start to see the fact that perhaps your thinking isn't quite logical. And maybe when you come back to that later and you look at that and say, well, what was I thinking? What caused me to feel like that? And oftentimes it's not just the event that happened. It's that event was a trigger. And that trigger is based on something that happened long ago that you haven't dealt with. You have to deal with the things that have happened to you in life, or your experiences that caused you to get stuck in a particular mindset that it's hard to climb out from under. But you don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to live in a perpetual state of negativity. You have people that are willing to help you, but you have to be willing to help yourself first. You have to be willing to acknowledge how you really feel and how your feelings, those negative feelings, those dark feelings, are showing up to other people. Because when we don't feel good about ourselves, we often don't present ourselves in the best way. And when we don't present ourselves in the best way, we repel other people. And then we wonder why we feel like no one is there for us, why we feel so lost. Well, today is the day to find yourself, to acknowledge how you're feeling, to have someone and to get help from someone to help you unpack all of that baggage. Because all of us, we all have baggage. We all have baggage. But we have to be willing to unpack it. Just think about going on a trip. How excited we are when we're getting things prepared to go. You know, we're packing to go. We're going to be able to get away for a while, and we're excited about that. But then when we get back, we're not so excited about the unpacking part. I know I've been on vacation before and my bags have been packed several days after the fact because I was like, you know what? I need a vacation from my vacation. I don't feel like unpacking. But if I ever want to get back to my stuff, I've got to unpack. We all have to unpack. And particularly in the African American community, we have to be willing to unpack. And we can't be afraid to unpack. We can't keep putting unpacking off. It has to happen. You can't just keep stacking luggage on top of luggage on top of luggage with all of that baggage inside, all of the different pieces and parts of your life that you put into that bag and you zipped it up and you pushed it into a closet. It's still in that closet. Those things are still there, just as you left them. And until you unpack them, there's going to be chaos. Because there'll be things that you're looking for that you need, and now you've got to go through all of that baggage to find it. But when you go through it, you find it, and you put things back in their proper place. And that is what therapy does. It helps you to unpack, to identify what's missing, and to put things back into their proper perspective. It is nothing to be ashamed about. Nothing. Because you will only come out better for it. I have mentored so many people. I have served as a life coach to so many people. And not just from a common sense perspective, but from a background in psychology, which I have. And I can tell you unequivocally that people get better when they change their thoughts, when they learn how to think about things differently, and when they gain the tools that they need to be able to help them change their mindset and to move past the negative thoughts, the negative feelings, the fear, the resentment, the anger, the anguish, the pain, the trauma, the chaos of life. and events that have happened to you in your life. Don't you think it's time that you give yourself the place and the space to unpack so that you can find the parts and the pieces of yourself that you have left zipped up in a bag, set on a shelf, pushed back in a closet, but it's still there. Let's unpack that pain. Let's unpack the hurt. Let's see that those things aren't happening anymore. And you don't have to be triggered anymore. You can learn a new way of dealing with things that don't happen the way you want them to in your life. And you can gain a new positive mindset, a new outlook on life, a new perspective about yourself and your capabilities and your future. Because your future is bright and it's waiting on you to let go of the past. I invite you today to find a therapist, a counselor, a life coach. I'm here. If you just aren't quite ready to take that step to meet with a professional counselor, if that makes you feel some sort of way, find someone that can mentor you. If you're afraid that you don't have the resources and you have a job, I can guarantee you that that employer has an EAP program, Employee Assistance Program, and you can get counseling for free through the Employee Assistance Program. Check with your HR representative. Check your company intranet for information about an Employee Assistance Program. And take advantage of programs just like that to get you the confidence and the shift in your mindset so that you don't let your pain get your ass whooped. I'm Sage Hill, and this has been The Social Sage. As always, it's been a pleasure, my treasures. We keep it real on The Social Sage because she speaks truth. Thank you for listening.